I have some questions here. I'm going to answer by speech, just to change things up a bit, because I feel like there are things that have been answered on the website already, so I'm just going to go over them through voice. So my, at the moment, my film looks like it's going to be an almost a representation of what's going on in Greg's mind, perhaps focusing on the chaos scene in the original play. Because I'm going to incorporate bits of that script. I'm going to incorporate the images we see in that, similar to the creation for Greg's fear I made. It's going to represent Greg's inner mind during these stressful moments. So who is the character? Greg, he is the new kid at the school. He's a bit of an outsider, more of a watcher, doesn't really interact much with anyone else in the school, except the character that I invented, Penelope, who obviously isn't actually in the performance. What do they want? They want to be included. They just want peace. They want to find a nice group of friends and settle down and stop with all the chaos that goes on around. They just want inner peace with a nice group of friends that respect him. What's he afraid of? He's afraid of being the odd one out. He's afraid of messing up, standing out. He's more likely to not try so that he doesn't fail because he's so afraid of standing out. More literally, loud, sudden noises. He has a resignating fear of the train that's been amplified and distorted because of the incident on the platform. Similarly, he hates crowds. Large crowds. This was before the incident. He's gone through a lot of trauma in his life through secondary school and before that, so he's afraid of crowds in general. What secrets are they hiding? They care a lot more about the people around them than I think they would let on. They care a lot more about how they're perceived than I think would be let on. They worry a lot more. He's more than happy to let people think that he's the weirdo loner that sits on the outside and doesn't really think about anyone. But actually he thinks far too much, which is sort of his problem, which is what I'm trying to encapsulate in this film. Given circumstances, what has just happened? Well, like I say, this is going to be more of a representation of his mind at any particular moment. It's almost a film adaptation of the scene Chaos, and the whole point of the scene Chaos is it happens outside of the story. In true post-traumatic fashion, it doesn't happen in a linear order. It's everyone and everything, everyone's faults all crashing in at the same time. These faults may have happened, after all of the events that we've witnessed, but they may also be happening as it's just a cacophony of these faults. And now in this interpretation, these faults are all Greg's, because I feel that works. As a teenager, I believe he, as Laura Lomas intended to show, teenagers do worry about a lot more than perhaps people think. So what has just happened? Really, nothing, but also everything. It's a post-dramatic way. Where are they? Again, this is set inside his mind. However, I think this is set perhaps not on the platform during the accident, just because we know what he thinks about then. He thinks about his parents splitting up, and then he thinks about the boy with the ball, and then he thinks about the woman with the flowers. However, I do think it's set on a crowded place. Perhaps the platform a few weeks later, or a few weeks before. Perhaps even the school corridor, like in theme Butterfly. If Greg wasn't right at the front of the queue in Butterfly, and listening to Bee's and Chiara's conversation, if he was more in the middle, perhaps he'd get more overwhelmed at the crowd, at the fact that it's not moving, the fact that he's stuck in the middle of this cluster. So anything like that. Perhaps even the bus, when he's on the bus during race, although we don't get to see a lot of that as it's all told from Chiara's perspective and Greg's not the focus, but we know that Greg is on the bus. So any kind of important, clustered area. What time is it? Well, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. How does that affect their mood? In this, he is stressed. He is worried. He is scared. Being in this crowd is only pushing it and pushing it. He's getting more stressed, more afraid, more concerned, more wrapped up in his own thoughts. Objective. What does your character want in this scene? They want to stop. They want all of this noise to stop. They can't do that, but that's what they want. And in a way, in some crazy teenage brain way, which I think is what Lomas intended, they want to fix it because that would stop it. Just off the top of my head, there's lines like earthquakes in China's, and the wars and wars and wars, and the flowers will die and the rivers will dry up. They want to fix that so that they can stop the chaos, the fear, the stress, the anxiety, which is, of course, Greg's whole thing, really, and it's what I'm trying to show. In this performance, I'm trying to show a creation of not only Greg's inner monologue, but also everyone's inner monologue that we see in the play, which is why chaos is the perfect scene to create. What they're trying to do to the other characters, it's only going to be me in this scene. I originally did want other people in the scene, however, I have struggled to get anyone to participate with me. So we've changed directions and we're going down the solo option. Obstacles. What's stopping them? Well, he's just one person. What's stopping him from saving the world? He's just scared. He's one person. He can't do that. What's stopping them from stopping their own fears and worries is he is a very anxious person. A long time ago, now at the start of the project, I looked into him having some kind of mental disorder that perhaps would inhibit this, but we didn't go down that direction. Perhaps this has come through more in the play. However, I want to focus on the anxiety attacks, which I don't think it got explored quite as much as I would have liked in the live performance. So by channeling that now, I think it would really explore the character more deeply. It's something I tried to create when I created Greg's fear again. What internal or external conflicts exist? Externally, we have everything. That's the whole point of this scene. We have everything all of the time. That's the fears. Then more personally, externally, we have his exclusion from everything, always. We have the family dynamics and the shifting dynamics of the parents' split. We have the fears of being the odd one out at school. We have his history of bullying and getting beaten up on the train platform, his social anxiety. And then internally, I think it's almost the same thing internally, actually. We have his anxiety, his fears of his past. But then in this specific moment, he just gets caught up. It's one of these dangerous loops, which I researched about during my researching phase. I found out that when things like this happen, you do get stuck in it. It doesn't matter what people say, or if you've fought the same fault over and over again, you're just going to keep going in this loop of what if this happens and that happens and then that will lead to that. So this will happen, so this will happen and that will lead to that. So this will happen and this will happen and that will lead to that. So that's really the internal conflict and what I want to encapsulate. Subject. What are they really thinking under what they're saying? Help me. Please make it stop. I mean, I may literally put them lines in. I'm going to stick to the original script. Everything in the original script of Chaos is going to be in there. However, I plan on adding more, perhaps written from my own creation and taken from other bits of the text, to really encapsulate the whole play and Lomas's entire ideas. So I may literally put that in there, but if not, I've not written the script yet, I really should. But if not, that's what they're thinking underneath. They're saying in the planets, rain, we're made of stardust, earthquakes in China, a boy walks into a room, he smashes it up. All of that is what he's saying. Underneath, he's saying, help, there's too much, I can't do it, everyone feels it. And I think that's something that the ensemble, for one, I think that's something everyone in the ensemble can depict, can relate to, as well as audience members of all ages, really.